Welcome back to Love Dripping from the Walls. And I'm your host, Elizabeth Cunningham. And today we have Kaleb Laird. And why Kaleb is so awesome is because Kaleb is so awesome. It's like isn't that a Chinese proverb or a Buddhist proverb where it's like, what's the sound of one hand clapping? Is the sound of one hand clapping.
Yeah.
So you're awesome because you're awesome.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, that's it. And Kaleb is also Brandee's twin brother. Brandee, my partner.
She's the best.
She's so great. Yeah.
She's amazing.
Yeah. We agree on these things.
We could spend the entire time talking about Brandee.
We could just spend the entire time talking about Brandee. She doesn't listen to the podcast anyway. So.
Oh, she's gonna be listening to this one because I will lay on the twin guilt so hard. I'll be like, so did you hear it yet? What'd you think? How did it sound? Oh, you didn't? You should probably listen to it. It's a good one.
Good. It would be the first one that she listened to. I think she listened to a part of the first one, maybe. And she again, I wish that I'm going to have, what I want to do is have these podcasts be recorded. And so that people can watch the video too. Right. Because people's the facial reactions to things are so good. Because that was brilliant. Yeah. That was like a brilliant, that was guilt twin face.
Yeah. I just look at her. I was like, so, I was just recording the podcast. Yeah, the one that you haven't listened to. It's really good. You should probably listen to it.
She did promote the podcast on her Facebook, though.
Very nice.
Yeah, she was
support.
She did. She did the supportive partner thing, and she promoted the podcast on her Facebook, and she called me a love nerd.
That's accurate. Love nerd.
No, yeah. She goes, my partner, Elizabeth Cunningham, put out this podcast, Love Dripping from the Walls. If you're a love nerd like her, then you should check it out.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
That's great.
She's great. Yeah. So other things about Kaleb besides being Brandee's twin and you being awesome. And the reason that you're on this podcast is because you're trans.
Yes, that's me.
That's you. That's so great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why you reached out to me. Oh yeah, that was the other thing. Is that so Kaleb is the podcast #1 super fan.
I am. I'm gonna get a t-shirt made.
We should get t-shirts made.
That'd be pretty cool, actually.
I want to have Love Dripping from the Wall swag. Did you see my new logo that I made?
Yeah.
Do you like it?
I like it. It's pretty good.
I don't think that it's the end-all be-all logo, but I think it's pretty good for now.
I think you're going in a good direction.
Yeah.
I think that if you do you know any graphic designers or anything?
My cousin is a graphic designer.
Yeah, because I can hook you up with some too if
Sweet.
If you need it. I know
well, we do live in Seattle.
Yeah. So. I'm in the business of knowing people.
You're in the business of...
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah. Knowing people who know people makes me know people.
Yep, exactly. You can laugh into the mic. You're so funny.
No, sometimes I laugh and there's just no sound that comes out because I'm laughing too hard. That was one of those ones where I'm just like, I'm falling.
I thought you were trying to not laugh into the mic.
No, it's when I find, especially if I'm laughing at myself, I just kind of double over.
Okay.
But yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, no, I'll laugh ha ha ha.
Please don't laugh like that. We're not going to get anything accomplished if you laugh like that. I'm so distracted.
All right, I'll be good.
Oh my God. Okay, so you reached out to me.
Yes.
And you said that you would love to be on the podcast. Oh, yeah. So why? I'm going to let you answer that. Okay. So why did you reach out to me? Why do you want to be on the podcast?
I just thought that it was a good opportunity to share a different perspective about things. I think a lot of times people get so wrapped up in identities that they don't realize the nuances of them. And I was really impressed with just how you're breaking down polyamory and all the different people that I've been listening to and their stories. And I think there's something really special about a story because, people don't really care about the successes. They want to know about the failures in life. And I think it's the same thing with stories. You can have all these good things, but what's the meat of it? What made you come to this conclusion? I think is really interesting, and just backstory of people. And I mean, obviously, I have a unique perspective about things, and going from one part of the spectrum of the LGBTQ plus community to another part, and then trying to reconcile those two pieces of me has been a 5 year long journey so far,
Yeah.
at least to this point. And so I just wanted to,
Well, going from like identifying as
yeah,
a woman who's a lesbian
yeah. I
to
never called
then
myself that
you
though.
never called yourself a lesbian?
No, and there's nothing wrong with lesbian. But the word itself has been one of those words, like, people just don't like certain words.
Sure.
I just don't like the word lesbian.
You don't like the word lesbian?
I do not. It makes me, anyway. So I was gay.
Well, and like, to be fair, it doesn't sound like you were, at least in my own like sexuality journey, that straight never sat well with me either. Like,
Right.
because for a while, like, for all intents and purposes, I was like, I considered myself to be like quote unquote straight, but I always said straight-ish because I like knew that I was attracted to women and stuff. And I mean, you'll get into this in a second, I'm sure, but for me, I knew that I was attracted to women, but I also thought that everyone was attracted to women the way that I was attracted to women.
I was listening to that earlier.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I was just like, well, everyone feels that way about women. I'm like, everyone thinks that they're amazing and soft and wonderful and gorgeous and wants to kiss them. Doesn't everyone feel that way?
And they should.
They should. I feel that way.
Yeah, I love them.
So I've always like felt that way towards women, but I never put that specific label on it. Yeah, anyway, but the point being is that you just knew that like lesbian wasn't you.
Right. It just didn't fit right.
Yeah.
I guess and for a certain time too, because when I came out as liking women, as somebody that was then identifying as a girl, never even feels right either. Like, even thinking about it before, I never really like labeled myself as a girl or a woman, and woman really didn't fit me back then either.
Right.
But I came out at 17 the first time, and I was going somewhere with this. Oh, that was back in like 2004, 2005, when like there was a really big movement and stuff, and more and more gay people were coming out and being seen and stuff, and so I was in part of that, and so I was very tomboyish. I mean,
that's so surprising to me.
Right. I know, it comes as a shock, but I would identify as a dyke over lesbian. Because back then it was kind of like there was still a community of that, especially around my friends that were the same age. We were just a bunch of baby dykes back then.
Did you call yourselves that?
Back then, no, because we're like, we're not babies. We're dang near 18, calling me a baby, right? But like looking back, we were all a bunch of baby dykes back then.
Okay, I gotcha.
Yeah, so it was either that or gay. I don't think I've ever been like, hi, I'm gay, I'm a lesbian. Like, I don't think I ever did that.
Right. Well, and did you always go by K then?
Well, I started going by K probably, around that time I was 17, because I had a best friend that I met online, back in the AOL chat rooms.
Yes, right, yeah. AOL chat rooms.
Talking on AIM till like 3 o'clock in the morning.
Whatever. I like totally started my relationship with my high school sweetheart over AOL chat rooms.
That's so funny.
100%.
I just remember the away messages, and we were a mess back then. But back then, my friend, I met my friend, and we became best friends right away. We had a lot in common. We had the same first name. We were the same age. We were both coming to terms with liking girls. I was a very angry teenager, and so we were both dealing with a lot of anger and angst. Like, and every teenager is angsty, but like I feel like more so. But that was because I was struggling with who I was. And so we got close, and then moved over. He's he now, which is pretty fun. Sorry if I outed you, Kane. It's fine. He's gonna listen to this, but so
I'm clear that everyone you know is going to listen to this.
I've already
episode.
been like, guess what I'm doing tonight? I'm recording a podcast. Oh, you're gonna listen to it? Yes, you are. Thank you. So he flew out over here from Massachusetts when we were 17 to kind of finish up school because he kept dropping out. And we had the same first name, so I started going by K, and he started going by KK. The only thing is, when you put us together,
I literally caught onto that. Like, I was like, "Oh, that's
so
not great."
So it was K and KK. Like, so
Mm-hmm.
K just fit better too back then. Just and then I never really that's I feel like looking back, that's kind of when I started growing out of my birth name. And
Mm-hmm.
some people call it their dead name, but I personally don't because I didn't kill that person. I just evolved that person.
Oh.
So when I was going by my birth name, it didn't really fit after a while, and then um, changing from my birth name to Caleb, it was a lot easier for some people just to call me K as they were getting used to this new me.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's always just, I guess so it's been a nickname since I was 17.
Mm-hmm.
That was a really long explanation, sorry.
Don't apologize. How dare
Well,
you?
now I'm getting in my. It's weird. Like, I know I'm supposed to be talking, but sometimes when I realize I'm talking to somebody, then I get really self conscious about what I'm saying.
Well, don't. This podcast is about you.
Oh, woo.
But for real, this podcast is about
I
you.
know, but I'm still in my head about it. Like, I'm talking too much, but that's what I'm supposed to
No,
do.
you're so sweet. No, that you're doing great. You're doing
Thanks.
awesome. This is perfect.
All right.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. So then okay, so that's when you kind of like came out and you considered yourself more of like a dyke.
Mm-hmm.
But then so when at what point did you realize that that wasn't who you were or that you were trans or like how did that happen?
Well, I've always known.
Okay.
Ever since I was a little kid, I was always thinking of myself as a little boy. My
Mhm.
mom has a story that I used to, like, and it was right around the time my little brother was born. When
Mhm.
I was 3, I used to cry because I wasn't a boy.
Mm.
And she, looking back, we were talking about it, probably about almost 2 years ago now, and she was like, "Yeah, I didn't know if it's because you thought you were supposed to be a boy or if it's just because you were jealous of your little brother." Um,
Mm.
but I remember um, being a kid, grade school, junior high, high school. Every time, when you're a kid and you think about yourself or you're thinking about like your daydreaming, I've always thought of myself as a boy in all of my daydreams since I was little kid.
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't have a word for it though.
You didn't have a word. So what do you mean?
Well, I didn't know about trans people back then. I didn't know
Oh,
people.
gotcha.
You think you hear because back then, I'm almost 33, and back then when I was a kid, the whole joke about trans people was just, oh, I'm a man's, I'm a woman trapped in a man's body or whatever. It was always like a joke, and so I didn't really know that you could actually. And I don't really know if I was born in the wrong body, and I'm kind of a weird one. I feel like I go against some of the standard trans ideals and stuff. I never really thought I was born in the wrong body. I just didn't quite fit. It was like the way I've described it is um, wearing a medium T-shirt but trying to fit a small. That's how I always
Hmm.
felt. I just didn't feel quite right.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I thought about it for a while and I started researching it when I was a little bit older, 14, 15, 16, 17. But it was really scary. It was easier to come out as gay than come out as a boy.
Mm-hmm.
And I would every now and then I'd be thinking about it. I'd constantly be thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't tell anybody until about 5.5 years ago, which is crazy. It's been that long. And it was an accident because I was drinking.
Oh
And I was drinking with one of my best friends, Sandra, the boy's mom,
no.
and it
Mm-hmm.
just kind of slipped out one night. And
Nobody knows who the boys are.
my nephews, my babies, Dylan is 6 and Ezra's almost 1, and they're the lights of my life. I
Oh.
love them so much.
Yay. Yeah. Okay, so you were drinking with their mom at the
We were
time, which
we were just hanging out,
yeah.
and it kind of just slipped out, and I couldn't take it back the next morning because she's like, "So, what did you mean by that?" I was like, "Oh, bleh." And that's actually when I chose my new name because I hadn't really thought I would play with names, I guess, but I never really thought of what I wanted to be. She's like, "So what are you gonna go by now?" I was like, "Oh, Caleb." I'm like, "Oh, I guess that's it." Like, it's very similar to my birth name. Just added B on it, but it fits a lot better. So, and I never hated my name. It just didn't quite fit. It was like that small, trying to put that small shirt on.
Yeah.
So,
There you go.
yeah, and then I started telling other people. I think I told Brandee next. I
Mm-hmm.
think I told Brandee and Kane next. And Kane's my best friend over in Massachusetts.
Mm-hmm.
And then I chickened out and told my mom over a text message, which she was not happy about.
Yeah. How'd that go?
I think she said okay, but I'm not. We're not. It's not a good time to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, and it was interesting because my mom was like, when we were teenagers, 17, 18, we were the house that had like 14 of us in the house every night, two to a bed and a couple on the couch, because we'd bring all of our like queer friends home from hanging out in Seattle at the drop-in center, and they didn't have homes to go to because their parents were so supportive. But my mom was just like, come on in, had some
Right.
place for everybody to stay the night. And so
Well, that's really great.
yeah,
That's awesome.
and when I told her about liking girls, she didn't bat. She's like, "Thank you for finally telling me." I was like, "Well, you knew? Like, why couldn't you have told me like 5 months ago?" And so the same thing about being trans. I was like, "So when you said I used to cry, did you know?" And she was like, "Yeah, I think so." I was like, "You couldn't have told me 30 years ago that I would have done this?" Like, and then I just slowly started telling more people. But I've never made this big like proclamation, like, "Hey," I've just kind of changed names on social media, changed gender stuff on social media, like, and let people kind of catch up as they go along.
Do you prefer it that way?
Yeah, I'm not a very big like, hey, look at me kind of person.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a lot easier for me to just kind of subtly start making the changes and I told some people, and some people I'm sure had a feeling before, and then the rest of them just kind of found out when they found out.
Mm-hmm.
So
There you go. I mean, and I think that however people come out is however they come out. Like it really is your choice. You don't have to make some big show of it. I did, but I also make a big show of everything. So
yeah, that's funny. It's just, I'm a little bit more subtle than that,
yeah.
which is fine.
Like I have people coming up to me that are like, "So now that I know everything about you."
That's so funny.
I had a friend of mine who was just like, came up to me and he goes, "Well, I was gonna come over and ask you how you are, but I think I already know." So, but that's kind of par for the course for me.
Right.
So, but it's perfect. Like
Yeah.
that's perfect for you, and it's
Yeah.
perfect for me. That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's fantastic.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So, but one of the things that we wanted to talk about too was just your experience of love and relationships before, and then kind of like during that transition period, and like how it is now
Right.
for you.
Right. So before, I've been in one. I don't date. I haven't dated for a long time, and part of it is the gender identity, and part of it's just I had a really rough relationship that kind of made me like really wary about other relationships. Because I had my first girlfriend. We met when we were like 19. We didn't get together till we were 20, and it was kind of a weird situation because she was dating a friend of mine when we met, and we like, it was one of those moments where you like you lock eyes with somebody and it's like, oh, there you are. Like we've done this before, but I finally found you this time around. Don't go anywhere. And
Yeah.
so she was dating my friend then, so I was like being really good about it. Well, then I found out they were in an open relationship, and I was like, well, it's fair game, right? So we spent the entire first summer we knew each other just like flirting. Like we didn't really do anything because I was still being a little bit respectful because it was still like the whole friend group hanging out. But you could definitely tell there was a huge chemistry there. And then she went off to the boot camp to the Navy, like 2 or 3 months after I met her. And when she came back, like we just instantly like reconnected and we got together, and we were together for like 6 years after that. And then it just got toxic and bad, and we broke up. And I moved to California, and I didn't date anybody in California. I moved to California in 2012. Didn't date anybody because I was in school and working. And I mean, I flirted, I guess. I like to flirt. I'm a huge flirt. And it's fun for me. So I just flirt more than I do anything else.
I mean, I like flirting too.
Yeah,
So
I'm a huge flirt. It's bad. It's bad.
why do you say it's bad?
Because as long as I'm not being disrespectful to anybody's relationship, I'll flirt with you. Like, and yeah.
I told Brandee that your profile picture was hot the other day. Did she tell you
Oh,
that?
I heard about it. I sure did. I got this message. It was like ... So Elizabeth says ... and I'm just like, well.
It's a cute picture.
Thank you.
I know, but I was like, well, because Brandee made a joke about, so when we became friends and we started talking on Marco Polo, and then like you came over and we did yoga together and stuff, and Brandee made a joke like, oh, you can't leave me for my twin.
Yeah, it's that Laird charm.
Yeah, that's right. And I was like, Brandee, I was like, I'm not gonna leave you for Kaleb. But now I'll say things like that. Like that's why I told her that and also it's true that your profile picture is really hot.
Thank you.
But and the reason that I was like, I was sitting in her room and she was in the kitchen.
Okay.
And so I shouted it at her. I was like, hey, Brandee.
Uh-oh.
She was like, what's up? And I was like, have you seen Kaleb's new profile picture on Facebook? And she was like, no. And I was like, well, it's really hot. You should check it out.
Oh, I heard about it.
Anyway, I like to tease her.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun.
So anyway, I totally get the flirt thing.
Yeah, it's huge.
I got you.
And so I wasn't really dating just because dating's scary anyway. And then coming back from California back in 2014, I was still trying to just get back into the groove of being back and changing stuff. And I've always made excuses that I'm too busy to date. But once I started coming out trans, I was like, well, I'm definitely not dating, right? Because it's a whole different dynamic. Because I would have girls flirt with me before. You know, I was a pretty cute 20-something. I'll admit that now. But I always had a very low self-image, and I had very low self-esteem, and I was very insecure, like, through most of my 20s. And I was surprised that people were even attracted to me. That's kind of where my image was back then. So I just never put myself out there. And now, so I came out I started coming out back in, like, I think it was March of 15. But I didn't start medically transitioning until January of 18. So I've only been medically transitioning for a little less than 2 years.
Okay.
So it was kind of weird for me. I was always being able to justify it away in that 3-year period too, where it was like, well, I don't look like a guy, I don't sound like a guy. People aren't going to take me seriously as a guy if I try and go out and date as one. It'll just be easier if I wait till I start making the actual physical changes. But when that started, then I got scared, like, okay, well, now what if nobody's going to want me like this? You know, I see all these healthy relationships where the trans guys have their partners and they love them regardless of, you know, what's in their pants or not. But I was like, well, nobody's going to, like, love me that way because whatever reason.
Right.
Right. What if I'm the exception?
But it's just, and it's just your insecurities talking.
Right.
You know, you get scared and your brain just, like, fires off all these things, and it's not necessarily that they're real.
Right.
It's just that that's what pops up.
Yeah, and I have generalized anxiety disorder, so my brain likes to tell me a lot of things that aren't true. I'm coping with that. I'm in therapy. But it's also scary for me too, because, well, I don't really go out to bars and clubs, and so there's meeting people gone.
You don't have to meet people just at bars and clubs.
Right, but I'm saying that's where, like, predominantly where I'm always, like, used to, like, chatting to people, and especially in California, like, that's all you do in California is go to bars and clubs. There's some fun bars and clubs in California. I lived in West Hollywood, like, that was, like, party capital of LA. Like, it was a lot of fun.
Nice.
Flirted with a lot of girls there.
I don't know if it's appropriate to tell I don't want to take away from yours, but I was at our place in Capitol Hill.
Okay.
And this girl was flirting with me, and I honestly didn't even recognize that she was flirting with me until, like, partway into the conversation. And I was like, oh my God, this girl's, like, totally hitting on me.
Right? And sometimes I feel that way too. It's like, wait, was that? Dang it. You can't really go back and be like, hey, by the way, like, can we just restart this conversation? I'm on board now. On board now. I get it. Because even though, like, you know, I like flirting and people flirt back, I'm just like, well, they're just like me, flirting to flirt, right? And I've tried the apps, but the apps aren't really geared towards certain communities on, like, the main ones. Because, I mean, I like girls, so I'm gonna look for girls. Well, girls on like the main apps, like Tinder, Plenty of Fish, or whatever, they're looking for guys, and they're looking more often than not for the cis men.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no matches, and maybe it's just because I'm not trying hard enough. But I don't want to be that person that swipes on everybody because I'm not like desperate for it. I guess just swiping to swipe. And then the apps that are more geared towards like the LGBT community aren't really what I'm looking for either, because those are people looking for like queer relationships, or like, you know, I'm a guy looking for a guy, I'm a girl looking for a girl, I'm a trans guy looking for a guy or a trans. It doesn't really fit for me either. Um, and so I'm just like, well, where do I go out to date then?
Mm-hmm.
And it's also scary for me putting myself out there to date, because what if I start dating the wrong person, somebody she knows finds out, that could literally mean me being killed.
Yeah.
There's trans people being killed for being themselves all the time and dating, and they find out. And so that's always like a reoccurring theme in my head too. Like, what if we do meet up or something happens and it doesn't go how you want to, and then that means it's my life on the line? Because it's a very real possibility.
Yeah.
Right?
It's scary.
So then where do I go to meet these people? I don't know. And it's frustrating because I'm somebody that I am built to love.
Totally.
I'm such a lover. I'm such a family-oriented person. I just want this big family.
You are. You're so sweet. You're so sweet with Dylan and Ezra. You're so... Well, that was the first time that I met you, was playing with Dylan and Ezra, and we went to the park, and like Brandee and Dylan played around, and like me and you hung out and just like held Ezra and just like played, and you're so sweet with them.
I love them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You and Brandee both love kids. Great with kids.
Yeah. It's kind of, I don't know. Kids are great.
Mm-hmm.
I want a lot of kids. I want at least 4.
You want at least 4 kids?
Yeah.
Dang.
I want to adopt at least 3 of them now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do it.
I'm gonna.
I'm kidding.
Watch me.
I will. Oh my god.
But it's dating scary.
Yeah.
Dating scary, but and I want to, and every now and then I'll get an app or something, or I'll start trying to make a conversation, but then I just get caught up in the what ifs.
Yeah.
What if this happens? What if that happens?
Yeah.
But the bad what ifs, not the good what ifs.
Well, I don't know a lot about the trans community. Like, I know people who are transgendered, like I know you, and I have friends who are also transgendered, but as far as like dating and being trans, like I don't know a whole lot about that at all.
Right.
And so what, like, are there any like apps like just for trans people? Like, are there like in or maybe even like in the trans community, like in Seattle and like the Seattle area, like, because this is a pretty like gay population.
Yeah, it's a very inclusive place, which is nice.
Which is really really great. So do you find, or have you found, or do you know of any communities that are more supportive, or that like would be an in some way? Like I have no idea.
Right. I don't really know, because I'm not somebody that goes out a lot to go out. And I don't know of any specific apps for that. I know there's like, there's the standard apps, and they're I've tried a few of them that are more like queer friendly, but it's still not quite what I'm looking for.
So what are you looking for? This could be your dating platform.
Oh, don't put me on the spot.
No, I'm serious. I actually had someone who was like, "Hey, you know this person that was on your show? Are they single?"
That's
like,
so
I
funny.
totally want to like.
I am very single.
So single.
Single and ready to mingle.
Okay, so what are you looking for?
I'm just looking for a lady who isn't hung up on labels, as far as like man, woman, girl, boy, whatever. Like, they just love somebody for them. It doesn't matter what's in your pants or what's not in your pants. I also want somebody that's as ambitious as I am and active. I like being outside. I like hiking, camping, playing with my dog, very family oriented, stuff like that. And so it's hard to find real connections on apps anyway for me because everybody's so superficial and just wants to hook up all the time. And I'm just like, well,
it is pretty frustrating though. I had Tinder for a minute, and there's a couple times where dudes would just like reach out to me, and I didn't get on Tinder to like date women. It was actually specifically just for guys. But yeah, I would have guys that would like reach out to me, and they'd be like, "Can you meet up in like the next half an hour?" And I'd be like, "What? No. Like, what are you talking about?" And then they just like what is it called? Unswipe you or whatever.
I don't even know.
I don't know.
They say never mind.
Yeah, they're just like, oh, never mind. You're not down to fuck, so bye.
Exactly, and that's the thing too is like when I do get on these apps, and I've even gotten on them just to find friends, just to find an in. Mm-hmm. But the minute they find out that you're a trans guy, all these dudes come crawling out of the woodwork trying to bone you.
What?
Yeah, I've had more dudes hit me up than women on these apps.
Really?
And I'm just like, bro, no. And they're all, I've lost count of how many dick pics I've gotten.
Are you serious?
It's a thing.
What?
100% a thing. Yeah. So
I rarely ever get dick pics, by the way.
And as soon as they find out, and I don't know what it is about trans, liking trans guys, but they immediately, and I'm in the, top, bottom, whatever. I'm definitely not a bottom. But they're always being like, hey, you want to fuck? I'm like, no, unless you want to bend over, and then maybe. Some people learn something new about me. I would say I'm straight-ish because I've told you about my bucket list, right?
A little bit.
The one thing
are you gonna say it?
Well, I just said it, sort of. It's on my bucket list to top a guy, but that's just a power thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We did talk about that.
We did.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
It is what it is. I don't, and that's the thing too is like I don't want to date a guy. I don't see myself ever dating or like being like serious with a guy. That's always just been like I want a wife. That's just me. So it's also hard too because like, well, if I want to get my rocks off, I can go this way. But most of these guys want something completely different than I do.
Yeah, so it would just be like a hookup situation.
But
it wouldn't be.
Yeah, but it's also hard because I'm not part of hookup culture personally.
Yeah.
So the way I think about it is I don't want a relationship with you, but I also don't want you to be a stranger. So we have to at least be comfortable with each other, and I'm not gonna just drive over and jump into your bed the first night we talk.
Yeah.
And that's across the board.
Yeah.
So it's hard for me to like be like a hookup with because most guys out there, especially on these apps, from my experience, are just they want like now, like you were saying.
Yeah.
Can you come over? No, I can't. I don't even know you.
Right.
And then it's the safety thing again. Am I gonna leave your apartment if I come over?
Exactly. Well, and I think that there's like an added layer for being trans because absolutely you see in the news all the time, like people just get killed for being trans, which is terrifying.
Yeah.
And you run that risk just in general in dating, but especially as a trans person, absolutely. Yeah. I can't even imagine like having to. Because even when you said it in the way that you did, where even if you found someone who, found a woman who was dating you and things like that, like it's not even that it's through that person that you're dating, but it could be through someone that, she knows that isn't okay with you being trans or is threatened in some way or whatever and would like attack you or like come after you. Like it's scary. And yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of my hang up is I'm sorry. It's not even I don't even think maybe I'm not putting myself there out far enough, but I always get hung up when I do. Just because I have all these like anxious thoughts in my head whenever I'm like, okay, I'm gonna put myself on this app, and I'm pretty thorough in the bio, like everything I just told you and a little bit more. Like this is what I'm doing. Like I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a future philanthropist. I'm really family oriented. I'm always hanging out with my dog. Like let's go outside. Let's go do something. What are your goals and dreams? And all these people are like, hey, you want to fuck? I'm like, what? I put thought into this. What are you doing?
Dude, nobody reads those stupid profiles.
They don't. So I'm just like, but that's why I put it out there right off the bat too. So I'm just like, this is what I'm looking for. This is what this used to be for. Right. Now it's just a hookup culture. Which is fine. To each their own. It's just not for me.
I actually was in a relationship with someone for like 2.5 years who I met off of Tinder.
Nice.
Yeah. And my brother is in a relationship with someone who they met off of Tinder.
Yeah.
And so it's not like impossible.
Right.
But it's certainly not. I wouldn't say that that's like
You gotta wade through
the norm or whatever.
nonsense.
Actually, oh, you know what? My friend Kelsey, who lives in Chicago, she is marrying a person that she met off of Tinder.
Well,
I know.
dang. That's
Shout out
three for
to
three.
Kelsey.
Yeah. 3 for 3. Congratulations, Kelsey.
Yay!
Uh,
I'm going to her bachelorette party in, what is it, February? Sorry, Kelsey. At some point. Also, people organizing that bachelorette party, total side note, please get my email correct. I've sent it to you like 3 times. Get it together.
That's funny.
Side note, side tangent that has nothing to do with anything. Get my email correct.
Right. Make sure it's correct. You don't want to see her angry.
Oh my God. No, but you are a very loving person. And so it's kind of, I don't even know. Like, I have no solutions for you.
And that's why,
you know?
kind of why I just kind of, I mean, I put it out there. You know, I was talking to Brandee about it when she put it out there and then found you, or you guys found each other. And I'm like, well, I did. Like, what? How am I? Is like, am I doing it wrong? Like, what do I say? Like, I am open and willing to receive love. Like, what else do I
Did
need
she tell
to say?
you about that?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, of course she told you about that.
Yeah. And so like, I'm not like closed off to it, but it just, and at this point, it sounds kind of like sad, but I'm kind of resigned to like forever alone type thing.
But that's why it's not happening.
Right,
Is because you're being resigned.
And well, I guess I should say I was resigned until Brandee and I were talking about it. I was like, okay, I am open. I'm willing to take love. Like, where is she? Like, here's my address. Here's my email. Here's my phone number. You can find me on Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook. Like, where are you?
Come find me now, please.
Come find me now, please. But it's in after a while too, there was a period of time after my last relationship and now where I just felt like I was never gonna find somebody that loved me like that again. So that's always been kind of hard. Like, well, what if they never loved me as much as she did? Because even though it was crazy and toxic and bad, there was still a lot of good in it. That's why we were together for so long.
Right. Well, I mean, I could say the same thing about my past relationships where it's just like, you know, I married someone twice.
Right.
I married them twice.
I did not know.
We had a small wedding ceremony and we had a larger wedding ceremony. So I married them twice. Like, I was fully committed.
Yeah, it wasn't legal back then, but we were married. It was because if it had been legal, our dumbass 20-year-old selves would have gone to the courthouse right away. Like, that's just, and I think of her more as my ex-wife than anything. And people are like, you're married? I was like, well, it wasn't legal, but yes, technically. Like, it was in divorce sucks sometimes, right?
Yeah,
So
totally.
I've been through that.
Yeah.
Not the paperwork, but
Yeah.
it kind of, I spent a long time working on myself just because I wanted to be somebody somebody else, like, how do I say it? I wanted to be somebody, not somebody like worth having, because I am worth having, but you know what I mean? I wanted to be somebody that I was secure in myself, and I spent a lot of time working on like my self-esteem and my self-image, and now I'm pretty vain.
I would not say that about you, by the way.
I'm pretty vain, and it's sometimes, you know, when it crosses into cocky, that's when I'm being silly about it, but I'm a pretty vain, confident person now, so now I'm like, well, you know what? I am worth this. Like, dang it, like,
Gosh darn it,
you can't treat me like that. Like,
well, I'll pose this question to you.
Yeah.
So, do you think that one of the reasons why you're not fully open to a new relationship is because there's part of the old relationship that you haven't let go of?
I do not think so. I'm working it out as you ask me. I think that I'm over that relationship. It's been like 7 years. She's remarried, off in Canada. We don't really talk. We did have a really bad, like, she was probably one of the most negative reactions when I told her I was trans. Because I didn't tell her for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And she went on this whole spiel about it, like, because when we were together, our sex life started to suffer because I wasn't comfortable with myself, and it
Mm-hmm.
was a whole, well, it's not you, it's me thing. Nobody ever believes it, right? So
Mm-hmm.
she didn't believe it. Well, part of the thing that came out was like, oh, so it really was you. I was like, well, I only told you that for 4 years, but yes, it really was me. And then it kind of it seemed to make her mad that I wasn't going to be this perfect version of her ex anymore. You know, this perfect little body, this perfect little girl, like who she was like in love with back then. And she said some pretty transphobic things about it. And that was probably like 2 or 3 years ago. So I was pretty like far into my social transition before I even told her. And that's because we just didn't really have communication because she got married to somebody else, and that was just nonsense anyway. So I think
Mm-hmm.
as far as
So
not
were you broken up before you, like, when did you come out as trans, like
in terms of breaking up,
in terms of breaking up?
about 3 years after we broke up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
For some reason I thought that there was a overlap. Okay, never mind. Continue.
Because I mean, part of the reason why I moved to California was to go to school, and part of the reason is so we could break up for good.
Mm.
Because it was like break up, get back together, break up, get back together. It's like I have to physically leave this place
Mm.
to sever this relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and we would keep in touch, birthdays, holidays. Hey, happy birthday, Merry Christmas, happy Thanksgiving, happy Halloween. That was like the extent of our conversations for a few years. And then she found out I was trans, and then it was just like all bad. I was like, I don't have any more time for this energy in my life. And so I think overall, to answer your question, I don't think it has anything to do with me not being fully open, but the part where maybe it feels like nobody's ever gonna love me as much as she did, and so I'm just kind of holding on to that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it sounds like there's that, because that has you not be open,
Right,
right? Like the thought of the nobody's going to love me the way that she loves me,
right,
right? But also this, fear of how people are going to, cuz she's obviously, even though y'all were broken up, she was still someone that you deeply cared about
right.
and was your partner.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, you refer to her as, your ex-wife.
Right.
And for her to react that way to you being trans,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's got to be like scar tissue there, like
Yeah.
not to like.
Right. I didn't really expect that. I didn't know
Mm-hmm.
what to expect, but I didn't expect quite the route she took.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be toned too because we did it over like messaging. It wasn't like a face to face or phone call. It was just, hey, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
But do you think that added to the story of nobody's gonna love me like that?
maybe if I thought about it a little bit deeper, probably.
Yeah. Well, I don't know,
Right.
but
If
I'm
I
just
thought about
like.
it, if I thought about it deeper, because it's, I don't know, and that might just be tying back into like my self image, like because I see all these healthy relationships with all sorts of different like gender identities being together and
Yeah, it's totally possible, right?
right, yeah,
Yeah.
but it's always just been like, well, that works out for them. Nobody's gonna like me like that, and for other issues like my
Mm-hmm.
anxiety and my I like to withdraw sometimes when I'm overwhelmed and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's just this whole basket of like, okay, well, nobody's gonna. I don't like being vulnerable.
Well, there you go. There you have it.
Yeah.
Boom.
Podcast over. Let's go.
Well, what if you could be vulnerable?
I'm working on it. I'm in therapy.
Okay, but that didn't answer my question.
What if I could be vulnerable?
Yeah.
That'd be a very scary thing. But it would be good. Because then maybe people would get to know me on a level where they would want to pursue it, I guess. But then again, it's that, well, okay, where am I finding these people? Because you're not going to be vulnerable on an app. That's not really what they're for. You know, I
But
don't.
that's just like that. You just went straight back into excuses. You went like deep dive into excuses.
Well,
Yeah, you're like, oh yeah, vulnerable would be nice, but look at all my shiny, pretty excuses that I have why
right,
it wouldn't work out for me.
right. I just don't, I guess. I don't know.
I just brought you on my podcast to make you uncomfortable.
I guess so. You see my body language change? I'm like, oh, Elizabeth Cunningham asking the hard-hitting questions.
But really, it's just like that's what that is what it would take though.
It boils down to being vulnerable and being comfortable with that. Because I mean, ideally, that's how you get to know somebody, right? All the little pieces of them, not just the shiny stuff on the outside. And I don't think
Yeah.
I'm superficial or anything or whatever that is, put a facade up. Like, I'm an introvert. I'm an outgoing introvert, which is exhausting sometimes. So I don't really do well with small talk. And I'd have to like really sit down and like talk to somebody just to have a really good conversation. But that's also like opening up the layers of things.
Yeah.
And
What does it I mean, being vulnerable, it takes courage.
right. And yeah, I mean, I've done more courageous things, obviously. Like, I started hormones and I had surgery and stuff. And so I never thought I'd get there to that point either because I was scared of it. And it was being vulnerable. I actually did learn a lot of vulnerability and asking people for help after my surgery in June because, I mean, you saw me. I couldn't do much by myself. And so,
Yeah, we came over and hung out.
Yeah,
that was fun.
It was really nice.
Yeah.
And so I've learned to speak up when I need something. Well, how do I speak up when I need? Because do I need a partner? No. Do I want a partner? Absolutely.
Yeah.
How about where is she?
But we.
Where are you? I'm here.
Yeah, but it is. It's gonna take that level of vulnerability and like reaching down and being courageous, and I've definitely in my relationship with Brandee and past relationships, it's scary and it's like uncomfortable, but then you say the thing that you want to say and how you're feeling, and then you're like,
Right.
but then it goes amazingly. Well, it's not always amazing being vulnerable, but it always turns out the way that it should because you're being authentic.
Right.
And that's what's scary about it. That's what's scary about being vulnerable is that you're actually being authentic with people.
Right.
And I think that that's where people get, I know that you're not like trying to put on a facade of like small talk or anything like that, but I could probably venture to guess that there are some topics that you dance around and that you don't breach with people.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's like being able to breach those topics and just like let yourself dive in, even though your mind is like, don't do it, don't do it,
Right.
don't. Why are you saying it? Why are you saying that? Don't say that.
Yeah,
Ah!
you just try to shove the words back.
Right.
In. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Now I'm thinking about it too, and just being vulnerable, and I have people out there, right? But it's like my one friend Destiny. She is definitely one of my soulmates. Like,
yeah,
we are on a whole different level of like fundamental like love for each other. We've never met in person, but it's been slowly building up over like a 5-year like period of knowing each other that I can without a doubt say I love her and know that she calls me her second husband.
Oh.
Yeah. So that's kind of like, so I know that with time I can get to that level because I have, but it's just not, well, the logistics of it, right? She's over in like Illinois, I think.
Okay.
I think she's gonna listen to this. I'm gonna say you're in Illinois.
I know you're gonna tell all of your people to listen to
Yeah.
this, and then they're gonna comment and be just look for the comments of all these people. Like, you got it fucking wrong.
Right. I tried my best. I'm tired. And I've had a few like online friendships that have delved into something more than friendship and not quite relationship. But I also am not somebody that does long distance. I need you here to hug on. Because I love hugs. I love
Well, what's your
cuddles.
is that your love language? Physical touch?
It's actually quality time.
Quality. Ooh,
Yeah.
okay. Is your second one physical touch?
I don't know. I think
Okay.
recently, because I recently took it again. I took it a few years ago, and I can't remember what the second one was now. But now it's quality time and words of affirmation, which kind of snuck up because I've never been somebody that's like liked praise and stuff.
Do you think that has anything to do with like you transitioning and like, I don't know.
Yeah. I think that it could be the words of affirmation too. Yeah, absolutely. Now that I'm thinking about it, because it does make me feel good when people identify me correctly, or even
Well, it's validating.
it's extremely validating.
Yeah.
Even from a stranger down the street, if you, excuse me, sir, or hey, what's up, buddy, or hey, man, I get "Hey bud" a lot. I'm just like, "Hey, that's me.
Yeah.
I'm your bud."
Oh, that's so cute.
So that definitely makes sense that it's slowly climbed up because there's just something about, and I don't get misgendered a lot anymore. I've always been pretty androgynous, but now it's pretty hard to misgender me. It happened the other week. It happened the other week, and it was weird because before I would never correct most people just because I didn't want to make them uncomfortable, so I kind of just ate being uncomfortable to spare them. Um, and I was at a cafe I go to across the street from work, and I've only seen the one person working there like maybe a couple times, and she asked the owner of it who works there, where's hers, and I was just like, it was like, freeze frame. And I'm like, okay, I have a couple options. I can let it slide like I always do, or I could be really polite. And I was like, okay. I was like, I'm a guy. And they kind of look at me. I'm just like, oh, was that the wrong option? Like, what do I do now? And
I chose wrong.
Back up. And I was like, well, you said hers, and I'm a guy. And then she said, she kind of just mumbled an apology, and he didn't really say much about it. But I was like, I was able to validate myself, which I don't really do.
Yeah.
And I went through a period. The whole reason why I spent 3 years being out but not on hormones is because I cared too much about other people thought about it. I was still living my life for other people. Well, what if they leave? Well, what if they leave?
Yeah.
That's their character, not mine.
Right.
I had to learn that.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
No, that's a really amazing lesson to learn, though.
Years in the making.
Yeah, for sure.
but yeah, so I guess I'm looking for, and I don't, like I said, I don't need validation, but I like to be with a woman that doesn't have to explain away the fact that I'm trans, I guess. It's just, this is my man, Kaleb. This is my bud, Kaleb.
Ew, I hope that if you date someone, they don't call you bud.
Hey, bud.
I'll just call you that jokingly around them now.
What's up, bud?
No, it just sounds like what you want and what you deserve and what everybody wants and deserves, but I'm going to say this specifically to you so I can make you squirm.
Oh, thanks.
Is just to be loved unconditionally. Is just to be loved for exactly who you are and exactly who you're not.
Thank you. I agree.
Yeah.
It's just putting that into practice.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that you've already started putting that into practice by doing things like telling people at the coffee shop that you're a guy when they say hers.
Right.
Because that is that self-love. That's that self-love, self-respect, self-worth, self-value. Where it's like, no, I have value and this is who I am. This is how you will address me.
You better get it right.
Yeah, and I've definitely been someone who's gone in and out of that, and when it does go out, it is inside of the I just want people to like me. And I especially think, at least from hearing you talk today, it definitely comes from a place of wanting to be liked, but also wanting to be safe.
Right.
Too. Because that, like you said, being trans, that adds just a completely different layer to it because you don't know how people are going to react. Like if someone, calls me Emily instead of Elizabeth, or whatever, and like, okay, yeah, like I'm going to tell them that my name's Elizabeth and I'm not going to make a big deal out of it, but no one's going to, stab me for that.
Right, yeah.
And so it's just like, it adds a completely different level to that. And so I think that just by being you, that you have the opportunity to be courageous every single day. And I just acknowledge you for being you and being out and being you and being able to learn everything that you've learned up until this point. It's amazing.
I never thought I was going to get to this point. I always thought, I'm constantly surprising myself, which is kind of fun. Because I never thought I'd be the person to get tattoos. I never thought I'd be the person to get piercings. I never thought I'd be the person to move up and go down to California and not know a single person with $1,200 in my pocket. I don't recommend that. That was a lesson learned.
Hey, I packed up all my stuff into my car and drove from Lawrence, Kansas out here with about, Similar, very
Yeah,
similar.
yeah.
I don't recommend that either,
I
but it was
don't.
an adventure,
It
and
was.
you learn so much about
You
yourself
learn
and like what you're capable of.
absolutely. Like sometimes, like I remember, like I'd be walking around California, being like, "Holy crap, I'm in California! Like I did it," you know. And sometimes now, I'll just be like, "Oh, I actually told somebody about it, and I couldn't take it back," and then I just kept rolling with it. And yeah, it did take me a couple years to get to where I am now, and I'm just like, dang, like I've never felt so mean my entire life.
So mean?
Me.
Oh, so me.
I've never felt so mean in my entire life. That's just me being a dick.
That's amazing, though.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. And I think that one of the reasons, not I think, one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on my podcast and why I have this podcast in general is just so other people feel validated.
Yeah.
And I know that that's a really big deal for you. And by you being on here, that other people get to be validated in their experience of themselves as well.
It's freeing. You hear that it gets better, and it's such a cliche, especially over like the last 15 years, but it does get better. And it still sucks sometimes, especially just, being part of the community and kind of the world that we're living in right now. It is scary out there, especially with like protections and stuff being rolled back and all the political crap going on. But you can't be afraid of that, because like you can't live for your government, you can't live for your family. You have to, because this is one of the most freeing, see, I'm getting worked up now, one of the most freeing things I ever realized for myself is I can literally do whatever I want, regardless. I can pick up and move to Peru tomorrow if I wanted to. I've got that freedom as a person. And that's when I really started living for myself, is when I figured that out. And that's when I really started making choices for myself, like how is this going to, I couldn't imagine myself at 50 not being transitioned. It just wasn't feasible for me. I couldn't really picture myself and not to be suicidal or anything. That's not where I'm at. I just couldn't picture me 50 before, but I can picture me 50 now. And so it's worth. If you lose anybody because you come out as whatever, that's their character, not yours. That's on them, not you. It's the fault versus responsibility thing. You can only be responsible for how you respond to your situations. You can't be responsible for how anybody else responds to your situations. Or if the fault isn't yours, you shouldn't take responsibility for it. And you can only feel as guilty as you let somebody make you feel guilty. If that makes sense. Does it make sense?
Yeah, like nobody can make you feel emotions except for you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that over the last 5 years, I've really been like working hard on that. And I never thought that I could be who I am today. Even 6 months ago, before surgery, I was like, oh, this is never gonna happen. It was always a pipe dream. And then it happened. I was like, holy shit, it happened.
Yeah.
Right? And then going through that, I can go through damn near anything now.
That's amazing.
Thanks.
Well, thank you. And thank you so much for sharing and being vulnerable.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Whatever. Don't even play that down at all. Really, this is you like being vulnerable.
Yeah,
like this is you being vulnerable and sharing. And now go out and do that with the lady love of your life.
The ladies.
The ladies in your. But seriously, thank you for coming on. Thank you for reaching out to me.
Thanks for having me. I didn't quite know. I mean, obviously, we kind of narrowed down what I want to talk about. And I was still nervous. Like, even leaving it up, coming up today, I was just like, what if it doesn't make sense what I have to say? Like, I was super stoked. One, just to, like, hang out with you. And two, just to kind of just sit down and talk on a deeper level and play with audio equipment and stuff. But I was just like, nervous.
I know. Isn't Sean's equipment, like, so great?
It is very good.
It's fucking cool.
It's super
It has
duper.
lights.
I know.
Like, you can see how little I know about technology. I'm like, look, it has lights and buttons.
Look at all the pretty lights. Yeah, I sold all my audio equipment a few years ago because I just wasn't using it. And it makes me want more. I just haven't prioritized the time to get back into the audio stuff.
All right. Well, this is my goal out of you being on, one of my goals has already been accomplished, is that you sharing your story and just talking about, how love has showed up in your life differently in, before, during, and after your transition, and just to have other people feel validated in their own experience of that. And also, I think one of the things that you brought up that was so great was that you can validate yourself.
Yeah.
Like the ability to be validated in yourself, and that other people's reactions don't have to dictate that you know who you are. And that's incredible.
And on that note too, the more you are sure and confident in yourself, the more other people are going to be confident in you. Because if you're wishy-washy about who you want to be, what you want to do,
totally,
you can't expect anybody else to be like, okay, I can adhere to this.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's when a lot more people because I had people really close to me I have people close to me who still misgender me.
Yeah.
And I don't love them any less for it, because I had to realize they don't define me. I define me.
Yeah.
And I've had people in the same group finally be like, oh, he's not fucking around. Maybe I should do something about this.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, okay, cool. Once I started taking myself seriously, more people started taking me seriously.
Absolutely. And I think also that comes with time as well, because there's definitely, in me and my sexuality and just being so steadfast about who I am, that it's taken years and years and years for people to not take it as some phase that I'm going through. Just like, oh, well, that's cute that you feel that way. But,
right.
Once you hit this part of your life, then you'll, I don't know, settle down and fucking have a husband with a white picket fence and,
right.
2 children, 2.5 kids.
2.5 kids.
2.5 kids and a dog.
Right.
And just, like you said, being steadfast in who you are and knowing who you are, that those people eventually come around.
Right.
Like those people eventually are just like, oh, this is real.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And at a certain point too, it's kind of, I'm a petty person. I try not to be. I work every day at not being petty, but part of it too is after a certain point with all the changes and, looking like a guy and you're still calling me her or she, you're going to look like an asshole. And an idiot when you're around other people saying these things, because they're clearly I'm not any of those.
Right.
And so you're just making yourself look dumb. Have fun with that. And that helped me not care what they thought as much too. And I was like, okay, well, you're just gonna look like a dick. Like, people are gonna be like, wait, what are you saying? That's a guy. Oh, now you look like a dummy.
What's it? The Taylor Swift song, the "You Need to Calm Down."
Oh yeah.
Like the shade never made anybody less gay.
Yep. By the way, that's a really good album, and
that's so good.
I never listened
God.
to her. Her pop, her radio hits or whatever.
Yeah.
But I was at work when it came out. The day it came out, and I was like, I need something new to listen to. I was like, Taylor Swift, cool. And I listened to it, and I was like, that's a really good. So I listened to it again at work. I was like, that's a really good album. That's a really good album.
I had never listened to a full Taylor Swift album.
Right, same.
Until this one.
Yeah, it's so good.
It's so good.
I was like, help, I like Taylor Swift. And they're like, we can't help you with that. Yeah. It's a good album.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
Point being, I love you.
I love you too.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's so great.
In your face, Brandee.
Oh, no.
I'm just kidding.
I'm also just kidding.
We can cut that part out.
We can cut that. It's fine.
Yeah. The one episode she's gonna listen to. I love you, Brandee.
We love you, Brandee.
We love you.
Oh my God. Okay, but seriously, I love you, and thank you for coming on the podcast. And this has been a lot of fun. Thank you for sharing everything that you've shared. And anything else that any closing remarks?
Be nice to people. Be kind to people.
Yeah.
We're all fighting battles we don't know about.
Yep.
Don't be a dick.
Mic drop. Thank you for listening to Love Dripping from the Walls. You can follow on Instagram or Facebook at Love Dripping from the Walls. Leave comments and questions, and I may share your thoughts on the podcast. Please rate and review on whatever platform you are listening on. If you want to support Love Dripping from the Walls, log on to the Anchor app and subscribe or give monthly donations. Keep listening and keep loving.